Hey. Welcome, brothers. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome, guys. We are here at another edition of Old Gold Table Talk, and we are excited to have a special guest in with us this week. Guys, there's a lot of talk right now that's going on about this finance stuff. There's a lot of talk that's going on about finance and the inflation rate and what's going on. And we already know that 78% of individuals are living paycheck to paycheck. And what we also actually know, guys, is a big part of that is not only taxes that we talk about, but also credit. But guess what? We are getting ready to break down this whole thing about credit. Welcome to Ogle Table Talk, guys, because Credit 101 is coming at you. All right, guys. Welcome, guys, to Ogo Table Talk, guys. I'm excited to be able to come and talk to you guys about Credit 101. Guys, get pad, get pen together. You're going to be able to ask questions on this, guys, as well, because I'm going to call the brother an expert. I don't care what you call the brother. I'm going to call the brother an expert, guys. We got no other than brother Brian Pratt, guys. He is the CEO of Legacy Money Managers LLC that started in North Carolina here, guys. Brother Pratt, welcome to the table.
Appreciate it, Brother Hawkins. Thank you for having us.
Hey. All right, man. Awesome. Before we get started and going on, so before we get started, many individuals may not even know that you have this company that you have been helping individuals with their credit and stuff, and like analyzing and looking at it, getting them into position and stuff to help them with their cash flow and all of that kind of stuff. Tell us a little bit about that, how you got into it and stuff, and what you've been doing.
All right, appreciate it. Legacy Money Managers was actually birthed out of my own personal situation. So about 3 years ago, my wife and I went to purchase our first home. I always had a great job, pretty decent income, and my wife always had a higher credit score. So I had a previous history of living kind of on the road, studio music, and so everything was cash based. And so I basically worked and hustled. If I wanted something, I just paid for it. I never really invested in my own credit report. When it was time to settle in, we wanted to buy a home. I actually started working, and then they start to run your information, do background, and when they began to do it, I started to find out just how much credit impacted literally every aspect of my life and finances. Went to apply for a home, and I shared this with everyone who comes as a partner at Legacy. Went to purchase my home, and during that time, my mother passed away, and I always paid things when I remembered. So I knew on the 1st I had my mortgage or my rent, and on the 15th I would go in and I would pay my bills. Generally, it was just out of my brain space because I didn't like to automate things. I don't want nobody taking money out of my accounts. I like to be in control of my money. And my wife kept saying, don't forget. When my mother passed away, and when she passed away, literally, the whole schedule went out the door. Everything went out the window. I basically remembered paid everything. We were in the middle of a housing deal. And long story short, I forgot to pay my car note. Just totally forgot. Perfect history on it. No issues before, but literally forgot. And as we were about a week away, 2 weeks from closing, my mortgage broker called me and it's like, Brian, what happened? And I was like, what happened? What happened? And she said, your credit score dropped 60 points and in the middle of the deal. And literally because of that brain, we lost the deal. And so I, in all my pride, my good job, had to go home and look my wife in the face and basically tell her, baby, I blew the house deal, the house that you picked, the house that you wanted. Wow. And I was sick. As you can imagine, I was sick. I was determined then, like, I need to understand how this works better. And I dug in and I started doing more research, started studying, got with somebody who was kind of working with people, improved my credit. God blessed us. We actually ended up getting the house same house for lesser price. So it worked out. But I
Okay.
started doing that and then helping people at my church, helping some of my young people that I was connected to. And then somebody said, "Hey, you're spending all this time doing this and mentoring people. This is actually a service that people pay for. Have you considered going into business for yourself?" And I had been doing it as an extension of ministry for a while. And then literally that's how it was birthed. But I tell everybody it was birthed out of my own kind of tragic experience. And then my determination to kind of get into after I saw how much credit impacted my situation, it made me like dive in aggressively. And then from there, literally it became a passion and it turned into a business.
No, awesome. Well, congratulations on not just the business, but to get that credit stuff back going. Okay,
Had to
because
get
I
it
think,
together.
because I think if we're honest with ourselves, many of us, 97% of us, have had some type of credit issues in one type of form. My story was I came to UNC Charlotte from Henderson, North Carolina. And I was just happy to actually be there. How I got, into this credit actually thing, Brian, was that I was going to play ball at the gym, and I was passing, the bookstore, and on the outside, there was these tables set up. And they had some nice mugs on that table. And I looked over there and I want a mug, and they said, you can get a free mug if you fill out this application. And I went in there and I filled that application back on there back in '89. I filled it. It was a credit application. Didn't know nothing of it. Got the mug, gone to play ball. 2 weeks later, I got this mail that came to me, and it was a credit card. It was $250 on this card. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
I was 18 with no job, but I got a card.
Yeah,
How am I going to pay that card back? I wasn't thinking about it because I wasn't educated about it. I wasn't taught about that in school. But
exactly.
I was, talking what I knew when I had $250. Okay. And, I call myself a little player. So I went to Red Lobster off of Albemarle Road. Had to take somebody out there, right? 250 gone, right?
Mhm,
250 already gone. But
mhm.
the bad part about it is what that taught me at that time was my 250 gone. I want some more money. Let me go find another application. And that started me going doing that. Still didn't have a job. Still didn't have a way to actually pay for it. I did the application. I got $500 this time.
Mhm.
Okay. Long story short, messed up that. That started a trend as far as going just by not knowing,
Mhm.
or what's going on and stuff like that. So, we all had the scores that we had to have to get back up. I know what it feels like to basically get up in the morning and you go out there with a key in your hand and you ain't got no car. Okay. Like as well and stuff like that. And that actually hurt and stuff, and know that. When you find out about certain things, you can do better, right? You can do better. That's what we want to talk to individuals about today because, right, when I'm looking at all of these stories and stuff in the news and what's going on, people's cash flow is going to be hurt right now.
Absolutely.
It was already 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. And we look at that, and inflation is basically is when you're not getting any other income that's coming in, your income is not going up, but expenses is going up and
Mhm.
things is going up. And so we want to be very careful with number one, I want to talk to people about when that happens and you don't have cash flow, a lot of times people want to utilize credit to
Mhm.
do so. But if you don't understand how to use it, the good of using it, the bad of using it, you can get into some dangerous situation.
Absolutely.
So that's why, I'm glad that you are coming around here to sit around the table actually with us because we want to be proactive, not reactive in this situation with what is going on. Because I believe, like you tell me, there's a good way to use credit, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are ways that you can actually do it. As I began to talk to people, we've been doing this now a little over a year, formally as a business. I'd say about 2.5 years, just out of the extension of my situation. And one of the things that I tell everyone is it's not always about making more money, but it's about how do I keep more of what I'm making. And
Mhm.
so all of the ways that we have money and basically trying to build credit where it's costing us money, things that really are similar to me, in my opinion, is predatory lending, which actually cost us money, higher interest rates, annual fees, monthly charges, where there are credit options that are available to people that we don't even know about, where people are literally giving you money to use their products when you have a stronger credit score.
Credit score. Talk about that then. Because a lot of times people said, under my credit, when this and that, and and it all goes back to your credit score. I can get this because of my credit score. I can't get this because of my credit score.
Absolutely.
What is this credit score thing all about so people can understand? Let's go credit 101. Let's go credit 101. What makes up this credit score?
So I tell people your credit score is kind of like your adult GPA. And the first thing is that whatever is the score now, it's never too late to start. And so, a lot of people, I'd say, generally, your credit score is made up of, first of all, the first 35% of your score. That's about 192 points out of this 800 credits. You see people advertising that you want a perfect score, 800, 850, 192 points. That first 35% is based on your ability to make payments on time. And so you heard me say that my biggest introduction was when I made one late payment. That 30-day late payment hit my credit report. And when it was reported, now that account that was on my credit report is listed as derogatory. And basically, it took that big a hit because literally 35% of this pie, this 100% that we have, 35% of it is based on your ability to make on-time payments, right? And so something as simple as automating your payments that are coming out. If I would have automated my car note, as my wife does with her bills, it would have never been late because it's always paid when it's supposed to be paid, right? So that's the first 35%. The second 30% is the amount that you owe, and so your utilization on your cards. If you have $1,000 credit card, you hear a lot of people advertising right now that you want to be around 30% utilization, and really 30% will keep you right where you are. If you have a credit card that has 1,000%, you really only want to be 10% or lower in order to drive your score up, right? And so the strongest representation on paper, remember, it's your adult GPA, right? So 30%. If you're under 10% utilization, that shows that you have $1,000 available, but you're managing what you have responsibly. And it also shows to any potential lenders or anyone who would extend you credit that you're not what I call credit thirsty, which means I got $1,000, I use 999 of it, and I'm waiting to get some more. Because when people are looking at that, they're saying, well, if you have 1,000 and you're already at the threshold, we don't want to give you more because if you have an issue or hiccup and you can't pay this back, now we're going to be stuck with a bill that you can't pay. Right. And so, so the first 35% is your on-time payments. The next 30% is your amount owed. The other thing you said earlier, trade lines. So the next 15% is your trade line. And you hear people refer to trade lines. It's your credit age. So if you have accounts that are long-standing business relationships, that looks better on your credit report. And so those of you anybody who cooks, my grandmother used to have old skillets, cast iron joints, where they were super, super heavy. And she would tell you she would fry fish in them, French fries, she would make French toast. Literally, you could do anything. She would cook bacon, them, stick them in the oven. But she would tell us when we cleaned them, don't put those in the dishwater and let them sit.
That's right.
Don't soak. Don't scrub them because those old pans hold flavor and season. And the older they are, it's like, Grandma, how long you had a skillet? I had this about 15, 20 years. That's because they're made of a substance, and all the stuff that they have, all those different food relationships, you will see them sometimes rub bacon grease on it to keep the
I know this analogy. I love this. Yeah. And
the point is that it keeps those flavors in there. Your accounts are the same way. So the longer you hold those relationships, if you have a credit card that's 5, 10, 15, 20 years old, that shows that you have managed those well. Those accounts, those trade lines have been managed well. And that makes up 15% of your score as well, those longer standing relationships. So people always think when I'm fixing my credit, I need to close my accounts because I don't want too much credit. That's one of the worst things you can do.
Don't say it again. Say it again.
That's one of the worst things you can do, because now your credit age, once they're closed, you don't get credit for it anymore. And so, well, you get partially depending upon the type of account, but it doesn't really help you and benefit you as those long-standing continual relationships. And so that trade line, that seasoned trade line, the next 10% is your types of credit. We call it a credit mix. And so if you have a charge card, credit cards, installment loans, those types of things all are calculated differently. When I went through my home buying process, they want to look at your last 12 months in your bank statement. They want to look if you have any installment loans, personal loans, auto loans, those things, because they want to see, are you able to make your payments on time without being late, delinquent? They want to look in your account, see if you have any overdrafts and those types of things. But they're looking at those types of accounts. So your installment loans, your charge cards, is your American Express, things that you have to charge. And when you charge it, you have to pay it back in the same 30-day period that you use it. And then those other credit cards, your Visa, your MasterCard, where you can carry balances past the actual due date and then make your payments along the lines. That's your credit mix, those types of accounts. And then the last is your new credit. And so the ability to obtain new credit is that last 10%, which is like the last, say, 50 or so points. And I tell people having or getting new credit is kind of like, have you ever been on a job interview and they tell you, yo, you are the perfect candidate. You are exactly what we're looking for, but we need somebody with a little more experience. So it's like everything is perfect, but we need somebody with a little more experience. Credit is kind of the same way. That's why we say don't close accounts, because if you have accounts, then they can use the history from your current managed relationships and qualify you to then get new accounts and new credit, which actually helps boost your credit score as well. So those are different parts, the different scores that make up your actual credit report.
Awesome. And you went through them actually perfectly. I want everybody to actually understand that. You said 35% was all about your history, okay, of the actual credit. Okay. Now, I like to say the history is this. Well, I'm gonna go to all of them first. 35% the history, 30%, guys, was the balance due. 15% is the age of it. 10% is that mix, that trade line mix, and another 10% is your new credit that makes up your whole credit score. Now, I like to talk about history as this way. Okay. Did you do what you said you was going to do? Period. Did you do what you said you was going to do? You said that you were going to pay somebody X amount of dollars every single month if they give you this car, they give you this item or whatever it is. Well, did you do what you said you was going to do? Absolutely. It's an integrity thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's all about your history. If you didn't do what you said you was going to do, guys, that's going to take a hit. Okay. On actually doing stuff. All right. But the biggest thing when you're talking about getting yourself up points and doing this and that, the miss, and I'm glad you said it actually right, as far as when you get back to the balance owed, because a lot of individuals, say that what I always heard 25 to 30% and the balance is actually good. Because you're talking to people that's trying to get you into a house. Okay. And getting to a house, and most of the time, there's only time we actually say, hey, keep your balance, keep your hand. Yes, you're able to qualify for the house. Right. But what Brother Pratt just actually gave you was what's going to increase your score the most. And I like to go a little bit further with that. Not just actually 10%. I like to actually tell people, keep your balance in between. No, I like 1 to 10%.
Gotcha.
And the reason that I say 1 to 10%, a lot of people say, well, why you say 1 to 10%? Because you have to have some type of utilization. You got to play the credit game.
Right.
If you go 0, they like, why they go 0? Now they're going on. They're making the money for it. 1%. Find out when your card is going to report. Okay. Find out when your payment is going to report.
Yes.
And just make sure that you are in between 1 to 10%. Don't you think that's good advice, sir?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you said that, because one of the things that people always confuse, you can be in good standing with your credit card company and report poorly on your credit report. And it's like, so what do you mean? You can have a good account with your Capital One, Discover, whoever, American Express, whoever you have your credit card through, they can love you, but your credit report grade be a D or F. And this is why I say that. Brother Hawkins hit it right on the head. If you have a credit card, there are 2 dates that you need to know. One of them is always on your statement. One of them you might actually have to call and ask the question. And I guarantee you, when you call and ask the question, most of the people that you talk to on the phone, they won't even know it. There is your due date, your payment date, and then there is your statement or reporting date. And what I often tell people is this: if you have a credit card and you know your payment is due on the 25th, and you make your minimum payment, never make the minimum payment, always pay a little bit more. But if you make your payment on the 25th, every month you are on time, your credit card company loves you, there's no issues. But if your credit reporting date for that same company, this is the date that they say, this is all the business you've done with us as a consumer, they collect all of that data and they send it to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. If your reporting date is, say, on the 19th, and you have $1,000 credit card, you run it up, you got to get new tires on the truck, you got to go buy diapers and groceries, but I'm going to make this payment on the 25th and it's all good. And you put $999 on your card with the expectation to pay it off on the 25th. Well, that company is sending all of your data and information in on the reporting date, which is the 19th. So when it all goes into the major credit bureaus, it looks like you are overextended and can't really afford to have what you have. The credit card company loves you because your payment is made on the 25th, no issues. But you're wondering why your credit score is not moving, why everything looks, it's like I got a D or an F on my report for my credit report, and I don't know why it's not moving. Because generally, you should make your payment, I say 5 to 7 days before your actual reporting date, so that whatever is going into the bureaus looks as good as you want it to look on your payment date. I hope that made sense the way I said it. But your statement,
makes sense after why you said it. Yeah. It was actually good. And I hope people actually got that, because that is one of the most important things. We talk about getting your credit score up higher, because we see people that are trying to do certain things, and that's the trap that they actually fall into, especially during this season that we're getting ready to go into. That's why we're having this table talk on today. Not just cash flow, and people don't have cash flow right now because of things. You're going to be utilizing that credit card going through this season, especially like not this Friday, but next Friday, right after Thanksgiving. You're gonna be actually using that card, and then you're gonna be actually sitting here trying to think, oh, I can pay it off. Well, I can pay it off here. I can pay it off there. Yeah. So the key thing that he just said was due date versus reporting date.
Absolutely.
Due date versus reporting date. Even though God gives you favor on that due date, okay, that reporting date is going to be what's going to affect your score. So you want to make sure that when your card reports, it's going to report an amount in between 1% and that 10%. Okay. If you're not there, start getting it down lower, but make sure that even if, I tell people this, even if you know how to play the game, you get it down. And even if you got to charge it to get it back up out of reporting, the key is you make sure that the reporting date, when it's there, is in between that 1 and 10 to maximize your score.
Absolutely.
To maximize your score can affect a whole lot of things. Cash flow, we have people actually seen them go on and stuff, get the interest rates actually lower on, the insurance and stuff like that, low insurance premiums, just even that alone. You're going to need ways to basically increase cash flow coming up, guys. When inflation goes up, you're going to need ways to have to do something. You want to be able to qualify even for a different card that basically has a lower rate. Talk to them about the card, because you kind of actually went through some types of mix, okay? Mm-hmm. And I noticed how you went and attached your order of it, and you said American Express, and then you said those other Visa, Mm-hmm. Talk to them about, because sometimes people go and stuff and they just go and get whatever card that they can prove for. They go to, because a lot of times when they're going to go this shopping season, they're going to go to Belts, they're going to go to dealers, they're going to have all these cards to be offered. Talk to them about the difference of how cards are depending on your score. One card is not equal to another card.
Absolutely not. And so they're actually different in a lot of ways. One of the biggest ways is how they report to the credit bureaus. And so your cards, like your department store cards, your so one of my partners, I call everybody I work with a partner, not a customer or a client. One of my partners went through, and as we went through the entire history of their credit, they wanted to make some payments, and they had charge cards, and they wanted to take all of their money and invest everything in paying off Macy's, Nordstrom's, Belk. And I said, well, before we do that, couple things to target. Let's look at the cards that are your Visa and your MasterCard, your Bank of America's, your Chase card, those cards that are reporting with the major banking industries because they hold more weight on your credit report, number one. And number two, looking at the Visa, looking at the, say, your store cards, your American Express, all of those different ones. Everybody likes flashy cards and certain kinds of cards, but you have to understand your American Express. A lot of people don't really agree with me, but I got a little history. Anybody you want to talk offline, we can talk about it. Your American Express, those charge cards are great status cards. They're wonderful status cards. They're wonderful perks and benefits cards. But you have to be careful because charge cards don't always help your credit score. In fact, sometimes, depending upon your debt to income ratio, your American Express Platinum, and I work with people. I got a platinum for my business. I got a platinum for my house for my personal use. I love them, and they're great for the benefits and perks. But one of the things when we're talking about your utilization, how much is available to you, if you have a card sometimes that doesn't have a charge ceiling, everything that you charge, everything that's on there, when it reports, it doesn't say, hey, there's no roof and it's just this much room to the roof. It looks like it's maxed out for everything that you charge.
That's right.
And so if you're using those items, then on top of it, if you're trying to fix your credit score, those charge cards, you have to pay off in 30 days or they begin to count negatively against you to carry over the balance. They have higher APRs. They will happily finance you over, but it's going to cost you more. And so some of the things that we do when we're looking at everybody, and everybody's credit is different, but we look at cards, number one, that offer the best benefits to your lifestyle and also your reporting needs. If you're a person who travels a lot, then we look for travel cards with lower percentage rates that maybe offer bonus points and miles, but then also report to all three bureaus. You don't need a belt
How
card.
important is that? How important is that?
So it is super important because as we're looking at people to help find out what issues they have with their reporting, there should never be 20, 50, 75, 100 points between your credit bureau scores. Experience says 750, but Equifax says 625, and then it's a 580 for TransUnion. It should never be that much diversity. But every company does not report to every bureau. And so when you bank with those larger banking institutions, they have, I would say, probably more aggressive and better partnerships often, and they report more consistently. The bigger banks, your Bank of America, your Chase, your Wells, those things. So when you establish credit, the consistency in the reporting is what helps you the most. Charge cards, those other benefits cards, all those things are, to me, we like to have them. We like the convenience of them. But when you're trying to drive your score, you want things that will push your numbers because you will always have access to those other department store and supplemental cards at a later date. Same thing when I tell people when they're buying a house. So if you have to decide between a house and a car, I say getting a house can get you a car. Getting a car won't put you in a house.
That's good. That's good information right there. That's good information. And I see a lot of people also that they're getting the extra card and stuff, and they're not realizing, like when they try to raise the, scores, and they think, hey, I was told to get a little credit mix here, get some trade lines here, and they're going to get these things, and they don't even report.
Yeah.
To when and then let's say some report to TransUnion, but the place that they go to pull Equifax, and it doesn't actually do anything, and they don't actually know. You have to know your credit
Absolutely
before you're able to help your credit and have power over it. You have to know it. And isn't there some sites that people can go to if they don't want to get a credit pull to get some to actually get their pull of their credit report?
You can get an easy one, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You can get one free one mailed to you for all three bureaus. It's myfreecreditreport.com. right? And you go and register, and they'll get it, they'll print it, they'll mail it to you, and you can get it in those 14 days. There are a million different places that will provide you a score, but you have to be careful. So many people have Credit Karma and Experian Boost and Credit Sesame and all these things because some don't report your FICO score, your Fair Isaac. A lot of them report this Vantage score, which is a scoring model, but it is not your true credit score. And so you have to be careful when you go to the sites, which one you're pulling. They're good for activity. They're good for reporting and some other supplemental things that, we can discuss at a later time. So they're nice to have. But all of my partners, no shade to them, but I tell them, if you're paying for Experian Boost, cut that off. Those things, cut that off. So because when you go get a house, they don't care nothing about your light bill and your cell phone bill.
That's right. This is some actually good information. I know we actually come and stuff. We try to actually keep these calls about 30 to 40 minutes. This is just 101. We're not even going deeper. So I wish that after you have to agree to actually come back with us around the table when we want to have a deeper conversation about it. But if you can tell that your brothers to actually do anything to be in top of their credit situation now, going through this actually season, what would you actually tell them? What kind of order would you tell them or what they need to do right now?
First thing you have to do is pull your report. You have to know what's on your credit report. And easy things that you could do to help your credit report. I think the last statistic said between about 70 and 80 million people have reporting inconsistencies on their credit report. What I mean by that is bad name, bad address, social, your name is misspelled, or some date of birth is wrong. And all of those items could be connected to accounts that are negatively impacting your score. And so the first thing is you can't correct any problem that you don't know is there. Just like you have to go to the doctor for a checkup, your credit needs a checkup. So you have to pull your report and see what is listed on there. Look at the names, look at the addresses, look at the phone numbers, the things that are listed under your personal information section. And if there's something that is wrong, that is incorrect, then you can take steps to have that information removed from your report. And that alone will help to raise your score. One of the other things is if you have, and this is touching out, but I'll say it anyway. If you have charge-offs, collections, things that are delinquent, before you write a check, I'm never an advocate. I tell people, pay your bills. I'm not an advocate for telling people to not pay your bills, but do your research, do your homework. Never talk to collectors on the phone. Anybody who has a debt, a charge-off, something, have them validate your debt by sending you the information in writing. Because what you'll find is a lot of people are calling you because they have purchased debt from other people and they don't have the information to really have the account. And legally, if they can't validate ownership of the debt, then you can't collect on it, and it should be challenged, and it can be sometimes removed from your credit report. Don't pay collections off without having the information validated, because what you find is that even if you have something negative on your report and you pay it off, once they have your money, your leverage is gone, and they're not required to remove it from your report. Even if you have paid it off, it can still sit there. There's statutes of limitations for accounts where if they're on there, they can be removed. There's a lot of different ways, and definitely contact Brother Hawkins or me. We can talk through whatever it is because there are strategies to doing this. Don't go in blind. And then otherwise, to have some type of personal loan and a credit card. I know a lot of people are reluctant to get in credit cards, and don't apply willy-nilly to everything, but do your homework. There are cards that will report that are nice starter cards. I don't want to advertise to nobody. I don't know the rules, but just in terms of structuring your account, you have to have some credit to get credit, and you have to start somewhere. People who have those perfect credit scores generally are navigating somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 in available credit. Doesn't mean you have to use it.
That's right.
But it does mean that it is available. And so you have to have those accounts to drive your scores up. So those are simple steps you can take, but it all begins with pulling your credit score and knowing what is being reported, what is being said about you on paper.
Awesome, awesome stuff. Brother Pratt, I appreciate you for actually stopping by the table this afternoon. You get some valuable information and stuff like that. Can't wait to have you to come back, and we're going to call it Credit 202. That's what we're going to call it, Credit 202, to get into some deep stuff. Brothers, be careful when you're going out there. Actually, this season is going up, as you see all of this news all about the inflation rates and things going up. You know, the cash flow is tightening up on individuals, so people are going to be using your credits. We understand that you're going to be actually using stuff more than you possibly did before. So we want to give you some information so that you are knowledgeable on how to use it. Okay. With that being said, guys, it's another edition of Old Gold Table Talk. Brother Pratt, stay with me as we all say goodbye. Take care, guys. Have a good one.